Hello, I'm Mbweha, you can call me Ben, of Team Relentless, and this is the Playbook, where you can come to learn to do something very specific in Star Wars Legion a little bit better than you did before, hopefully. Today we're talking about bears, beats, and Battlestar Galactica, two essential elements of having a competitive turn zero strategy.
Bears, beats, Battlestar Galactica.
Wait, that can't be right. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Today we're talking about bids and battle decks, two essential elements of a competitive turn zero strategy.
Every battle is won before it's ever fought.
If you've played Legion long enough, you too may have come to the same wise conclusion as non-digital makeup young version of Dr. Hank Pym. And if you haven't, you're about to, because Legion is a game of cascades and returning dividends. Making a mistake, or perhaps more often exploiting the mistake of your opponent before dice are ever rolled, can sometimes win or lose a game before it's even begun. So let's talk about how to plan for turn zero right now. Number 1. Blue is best. Make no mistake, you want to be blue if you have the choice. Sometimes I see players, even very good players, choose to be red when they're tied for points with their opponent and even win the roll-off. This is the wrong choice exactly 99.23% of the time. This isn't to say there aren't a few good things about being red, but compared to the benefits of being blue, they're more like a few silver linings. So let's take a moment to understand why you really want to be blue player. Blue player gets to pick the board edge, which is huge. Blue player's battle deck is the one that will be used to define the battlefield, effectively giving them 3 additional free vetoes, which is huge! And if at the end of the game there's a tie on victory points and points destroyed, blue player automatically wins, which is, you guessed it, huge! Compare that with red player's advantages. Red player gets the last veto when defining the battlefield, which is a nice consolation prize compared to blue player's 5 vetoes, I guess. And red player places second in deployment, so if their opponent doesn't have more activations, then they'll get to make a few decisions during deployment without their opponent being able to react to them. See what I'm getting after? You want to be blue like Tobias Funke wants to be blue.
Oh no, I'm not in the group yet. No, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
Number 2, choosing a bid. There are basically 4 types of bids. None, light, medium, and look at the size of that thing! Which bid to pick depends on how badly you think your playstyle and list need those blue player advantages. If you're running something that really can't afford a particular deployment or objective, your bid better reflect that. So yeah, make your army list as you normally would, but then think about how comfortable you are with your bid in relation to how badly you want to be blue, and then fiddle with it as necessary. By the way, even if you have a 0-point bid, you still need to bring a well-constructed battle deck to the table, just in case your opponent is also running a 0-point bid and you win the roll-off. As of right now, there are 5 battle cards of each type, so all you really have to do is eliminate 1 from every category. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually more types of battle cards got released, in which case being blue would be an even bigger advantage because it would be that many more free vetoes to perform before you even get to the table. Now, there are too many combinations of lists and battle decks for me to be able to give hard and fast rules about how to choose which ones to pick and eliminate. So of course I'm going to try. Number 3, battle deck construction, objectives. Objectives are easily the most important aspect of your battle deck because they determine if and how you'll actually win. When you're picking which ones to include, ask yourself the following questions. Side note, I like to physically hold the cards in my hands when I go through this process and place them into 3 piles. 1 for definitely include, 1 for maybe include, and 1 for definitely don't include. This really helps me with the decision-making process. Okay, back to the questions. For Sabotage the Vaporators, do you have a couple units, usually inexpensive units, that you don't mind having spend most of their game just messing with Vaporators instead of actually firing? If no, cut Vaporators. For Breakthrough, are you playing lots of slower units like Palp or Vader who might struggle to get across the table and affect the battle? If that's the case, cut Breakthrough. For Recover the Supplies, do you have a way to contest an early box grab from Luke or Boba Fett? If you don't, then get rid of Recover the Supplies. For Intercept the Transmissions, are you lacking in trooper units because you brought a lot of points in vehicles? Or maybe you're worried about being able to hold your own in an all-out melee in the center of the board at the end of the game. And if that's the case, goodbye Intercept. For Key Positions, are you worried about being able to dogpile onto objectives at the end of the game? You might be worried about this because you're running a low activation list, or because you're not sure how you'll hold up in a melee. Does that describe your list? cut key positions. Number 4, battle deck construction deployments. I find that eliminating a deployment is pretty straightforward with most lists. Check it out. For disarray, ask yourself, can your list safely deploy into 2 separate deployment zones? Or is that terrifying? I find that most lists don't like to be split up, and so disarray is an easy cut. However, if your list doesn't mind it, or maybe even likes it, then continue asking the following questions. For advanced positions, how much is your army list going to benefit from adding Scout 1 to all of its troopers? If the answer is, not that much, sayonara advanced positions. For long march, do you lack long range firepower? Get rid of it. For major offensive, do you hate it for some reason? This one pretty much always seems to get included. I can't really think of a reason why you would cut it unless you have some sort of a personal grudge. Battle lines is a lot like disarray. You're probably going to be splitting your forces up in order to move across the board to different objectives. So usually if you included disarray, you're going to include battle lines too. Number 5, battle deck construction environments. Environments also tend to be fairly straightforward. They also tend to be a little bit more preference-based too. But regardless, here are the questions I think that you should ask yourself when you're considering which to cut. For hostile environment, do you have tools like Inspire, Compel, Strict Orders, higher courage values, Refresh to deal with all the suppression? If you don't, you need to get rid of this one. For rapid reinforcement, do you have 1 or 2 trooper units that you're willing to deploy an entire turn late? Or are you a little bit nervous about countering a flanking opponent? If those things sound like not fun, get rid of rapid. For minefield, are you running armor that you don't want to give your opponent free impact shots against? Cut minefield. For limited visibility, ask yourself how close you want to be to the enemy when you're firing. If the answer is as far away as possible, then probably you need to cut limited viz. Clear conditions is usually only cut if you would actively benefit from the other 4 environments, which is fairly rare, but if it's true, then you can get rid of clear conditions. Bonus! Remember when you're building your battle deck to play not just to your army's strengths and weaknesses, but your own. If you're someone who always forgets about hostile environment and keeps getting hung out to dry, then you should cut it. It's expected that you'll go back and tinker with your list after you go through the battle deck building process. For example, if your list has too many battle deck weaknesses, you might go back and trade out some of the units or upgrades or try to lower your bid to make it more likely that you're a blue player. On the other hand, you might be able to go back and decrease your bid because you feel like the list can handle most battlefields. Summary! Let's review. Number 1, blue is best. Number 2, your bid should reflect how badly you think you need the blue player advantages. Number 3, objectives are how you win this game, so it's the most important part of building your battle deck. Number 4, which deployment to cut is usually pretty straightforward based on your list. And number 5, which environment to cut is a combination of player preference and list strengths. Now you know how to plan your bid and build your battle deck a little bit better than you did before. I hope. If you have any questions, I'd be thrilled to answer them in the comments below. If you like the video, please prove it with a little button that says so, and subscribe if you're into that sort of thing. I'm Mbweha. You can call me Ben of Team Relentless, and this has been the Playbook. Turn 0 bids in battle decks.